welcome to ICE 2024. I'm here on the GamingMalta stand and I'm joined by Pierre Lindh, co-founder and managing director of Next.io. Pierre, welcome.
Thank you so much, Emma. It's great to be here.
Good to see you. And what exciting developments, tell me, have occurred at iGaming Next over the past year?
Yeah, so the company is developing really fast, and we are really proud to be based over in Malta. It's been my home for the last 12 years. I'm really happy that the island has supported me and our company as much as it has, and it has allowed us to really grow now in the last 1 year. We have rebranded from iGaming Next to Next.io to really solidify the strength of the brand. We have expanded our 2 shows that we organize in Valletta and New York. New York, we organized that event together with Morgan Stanley. And we're really happy that we have a lot of the American institutional investors that are then traveling over to Malta to our Valletta show to attend that show as well. So we're really happy that we can bring kind of that crowd over to the island as well. But yeah, we are expanding on all fronts. We have 40 people doubling workforce, and we're just really happy to continue doing what we're doing.
Fantastic. We'll talk a little bit about your events a little bit later. But first of all, just to talk about the rise of AI, how do you see news portals such as yours evolving, and why do you think it's more crucial than ever now to deliver factual information?
Yeah, so in our case, we are obviously a conference organizer, but our second arm in the company is a media organization as well. We report on the industry. And so the rise of AI, and especially generative AI and the LLMs recently, has really thrown everything on its head when it comes to content production in a digital form. And what it means essentially is that we are living in an age now of infinite content, because the AI can essentially create an unlimited amount of content in any context, right? So what does that mean? Essentially is that we have to be able to stand out and create original content. It is not enough anymore to repurpose content or to repurpose content that others are writing, because the AI can do that automatically and so much better. So we have a really strong editorial team that has a lot of pressure on them now to do even better when it comes to original content, which the AI cannot produce then essentially. And that is a key, I think, into the future. If you want to be a successful media organization, produce good quality content, you have to be able to create a brand that stands for trust, that can produce original content, and you can be the organization that breaks the story, so to say. So that is kind of the new kind of landscape that we're living in now. It's not enough anymore to be tier 2. Yeah? You have to be tier 1 if you're going to be successful in the future.
It is a fascinating area that I'm sure in the future we'll see develop further. Just to talk quickly about the pandemic, obviously events like these, were in jeopardy at that time. We seem to have seen a real resurgence in audience numbers now to these sorts of events. Actually, is that personable communication still very important, do you think?
Yeah, the pandemic was a really interesting time because I think when the pandemic happened and Zoom calls became the norm, a lot of people thought that this is now going to be the standard way of meeting in the future. Why would we go to conferences? Why would we travel, sit on an airplane for hours and hours only to meet in person when you can conduct the same meeting on a digital form? And it's, to some extent, is true. I think today, 4 years later, it feels like it was yesterday, but it's actually 4 years since the pandemic started now. Many more meetings have taken place digitally. But these are usually kind of introduction and kind of more informative meetings, but it's actually at the events where the real business, the real kind of decision making and connection building is taking place, because it is it's always really important to do business with trust, and in order to build trust, you kind of have to meet the people in person, hang out a bit, and get a feel for someone. And that's why I think the resurgence of events came back with full force. The events are bigger than ever. The events became much bigger than they were pre-pandemic, and the whole event scene has just exploded since the pandemic. And that's because of the convergence between the two, between the digital meetings and the in-person meetings. Yes.
As you say, those in-person meetings really do perhaps go to a slightly deeper level than the digital meetings. As the iGaming industry expands into new territories, how are you managing to stay updated on industry developments and create these unmissable global events?
Yeah, so one major change that the pandemic brought to the industry was that traditionally the iGaming industry has been really European-centric. So the organization have operated globally, but they have held their offices locally in Europe kind of hubs. So you have Malta, London, Gibraltar, kind of like main hubs of the industry. But in recent years, the industry has become a lot more localized. So in Latin America, for example, the industry used to be kind of conducted and marketed from Europe, but now you have a lot of offices in Latin America with people on the ground, understanding the local markets and so on and so forth. And so as organizers, that puts a lot more pressure on us to not just see the industry from a European-centric perspective, but we need to build networks, we need to build understanding of all the local markets, the kind of ins and outs on these markets, which are going to be the next interesting markets and so on, because that's very much how the industry operates today. And so actually we as conference organizers, media, we have a lot more responsibility to learn and to understand the industry from that perspective, so that we then can guide our partners and our customers for them to understand where the opportunity is, basically.
Wonderful. So it's those localized teams that are really crucial, actually, to finding those developments. Speaking of your events, what can audiences expect from next New York and next Valletta?
It's going to be the must-attend events of the industry for sure. That is absolutely the case. So we have our New York show is taking place on the 6th and 7th of March. 1,200 people. We organized that event together with Morgan Stanley. We have some really high-level speakers. Stephen A. Smith, one of the most famous ESPN sport reporters in the world, is attending and speaking. CNBC is there, Bloomberg is there, Business Insider, all the major operators, DraftKings, Fanatics, FanDuel, all of them are there. And it's going to be the event to do business in for the North American market. That is an absolute promise. And then moving on, we have 15th to 16th of May in Valletta. That's obviously our flagship event. We are really proud, again, that we are a Maltese-born and bred company. We are really happy that MGA and GamingMalta have supported us in all these years, and we are happy to reciprocate that by promoting Malta the best we can. And we are looking at 5,000 delegates there. It's going to be the most fun and valuable show of the industry, with so many interesting things taking place there. We have Formula One drivers coming to that event, jumping over, and so many keynote speakers and interesting people to meet and connect with.
Sounds completely fantastic. I'm sure my invite's in the post. You may have heard that GamingMalta has launched its Respect campaign, which is aimed at setting the record straight about the iGaming industry by promoting facts, not myths. I would love to know, in your experience, what are some of the most common misconceptions that you've heard about our industry?
Yeah, no, I think the absolutely most common misconception, I believe, is the industry. It is really important to highlight the fact that there is an issue with gambling addiction. That it's a real thing, and it does exist, and it has to be combated. But I think the general populations, that's perhaps all that the industry, that is all that that demographics see. But actually, the regulated operators today are regulated like banks. It is almost impossible today in regulated markets to be exploited as a gambling addict. You are only allowed to play for what you can afford. These companies are strictly regulated, and if they only make one mistake out of 1 million customers, they are heavily fined. So the industry has a lot of pressure on them to stay compliant, to stay regulated, and that is perhaps a big misconception today, that actually the gambling habits that you see today are very sustainable by 99% of the players in the regulated markets. And that's something that's really important to understand. It's a great leisure activity for 99% but that being said, we should not forget the small but important part that do exhibit issues with gambling habits, and it's always really important to make sure that the industry take this problem seriously. But it's just important to highlight that that is not the whole story. That is a very tiny part of the industry.
It's an industry that deserves respect because of its responsible approach to what it does. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yes, that's the case.
Pierre, thank you so much for joining us here at ICE.
Thank you so much, Emma. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.